Good morning once again. Thank you, Your Excellency, for gracing this occasion. We are really excited to have all of us here. We want to apologize for the small delay in beginning, but you know what they say, better late than never. So we are ready to start our program today. And first is to take the opportunity to thank all of you for being with us. And to welcome you to this event dubbed the Africa Healthy Lifestyle Day. I'm told that the last such event was pre-COVID in 2018 or 2019. That time, maybe some of us were here, a few of us were not. But this year, the Directorate did have the thought to bring this event back again under the able leadership of our Director, and that's why we are gathered here today. The theme for our event today is dubbed A Healthy Plate, A Healthy Mind. Can we all say that? A healthy plate, a healthy mind. And you know, as a Directorate, we care for all our health. You know, we only have one body to live, and this is the body that enables us to work and to move and to do everything. And so if we don't take care of it, then we may not, be able to be very healthy. So it's important for us to have healthy minds and also to have healthy nutrition, which is some of the themes that we are going to be expounding today. One of the other important themes that we are going to be talking about is also about travel medicine. But I'm going to leave that to our able speakers to expound more about that. So at this juncture, I want to invite our esteemed director, Dr. Adamu Issa, for his opening remarks. So Dr. Adamu, you're welcome.
Your Excellency, the Deputy Chairperson of the Africa Union Commission, Your Excellency Dr. Monique Sanzabaganwa, members of the Diplomatic Corps present here, members of the High Table, including our consultants, resource persons, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. On behalf of the Medical Directorate, we welcome Her Excellency, all other excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen to this very important event. It has been quite some time, like my colleague said, since we did this because of COVID restrictions, but now we are coming back, I think, full force. So with the permission of Her Excellency, I want to start my remarks in a little different way. I'm starting my remarks from a country in North America called Canada. In that country, as we know, it has very good health indices for a long time, one of the best healthcare systems and best health population. In 1974, which is like 50 years ago, the Minister of Health and Social Welfare in Canada, his name was Mr. Mark Lalonde. He set up a committee of civil servants and professionals to try to determine what was the determinants of good health and the good health indices they have in Canada since 50 years ago. He was not complacent. He was trying to understand what was the determinants of healthcare. One of the surprising findings they made at that time was healthcare of the population was not determined by the biomedical health system, healthcare system that we know today. They are rather determined by many other factors, far more important than the conventional healthcare system that we know. 4 of them were very prominent in the report. that report is called Lalonde Report. If you wish, you can go and check. One of the most important reasons that determine the healthcare and health status of populations in Canada was the intrinsic makeup of individuals. That is their human biology. The second one are environmental factors, where you find yourself, both at home and at work. The third, which is very important, is the healthy lifestyle, which we are discussing today. And then the last one was the organization of the healthcare system. They did not mention the presence of big machines and big diagnostic tools. They mentioned the organization of the healthcare system itself, how you organize it. So these four factors were the reasons why Canada had very good health indices for the last 50 years. The report is considered to have led to a development and evolution of health promotion, recognizing both the need for people to take more responsibility in changing their behaviors, to improve their own health by themselves, and also the contribution of healthy communities and environments to their own health. Another important part of that report, which was done 50 years ago, was that it proposed that public health interventions should focus attention on that segment of the population with the highest level of risk or exposure to risk. In this sense, the report was fundamental in identifying health risk behaviors as determinants of health inequities. Your Excellency, coming back to our event today, the Medical Directorate has a vision of empowering our staff and their dependents, the diplomatic community and their dependents based here in Addis Ababa, with adequate knowledge to take proactive steps and make necessary adjustments so that they have a healthy lifestyle and they prevent disease from happening. Some of you may know that, some of you may not. The Healthy Lifestyle Day is actually an annual event for the Medical Directorate. It was actually endorsed by one of the decisions of the Executive Council way back in 2008. This event usually aligns with the World Health Organization strategy for the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases, and it aims at promoting healthy living to mitigate the increasing burden of non-communicable diseases, particularly in low and middle-income countries, including those of us in sub-Saharan Africa. So non-communicable diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and mental health conditions account for the majority of premature death and disabilities globally. And that is why we're paying attention to this. For 2024, the theme of this Healthy Lifestyle Day is Healthy Plate and Healthy Mind. We also have a slogan, and the slogan for this year is Stay Healthy and Travel Safely. There are many objectives to this event. One of them is to promote physical activity. Another one is to indicate our clients on the importance of healthy nutrition. We will need to create awareness on what mental well-being. We want to emphasize on how you do your travel safely. And finally, we need to reiterate the value of preventive health care. Your Excellencies, it is no secret that our clients travel a lot. It is also no secret that we live a sedentary life, and we continue to eat and eat and eat even when we are not hungry. In order to address these problems, we have invited scholars, resource persons, academicians of international repute, in areas of travel medicine, such as our vibrant Professor Flaherty. If you don't mind, Professor, I want you to raise up your hand at least so people will see you. This professor is from Ireland. He's the president of the International Society for Travel Medicine. Together with him are Drs. Garth, Dr. Charles Tarimo. One of them is from South Africa, the other one is from Tanzania. They actually come from an organization called Pan-Africa Travel Medicine Federation. They come here to guide us on what we should do when we travel out of our towns and cities. We have also invited Madame Grosba, who come all the way from Brussels. She spent a lot of time there, but she has never forgotten Africa. She's coming back here to help us and guide us on issues of nutrition. She will have her own booths outside, and you can have more discussion with her. For today, we'll offer a lot of things on the menu, and when you go out, you will see. We have about 15 tents. Some of them offer services such as screenings, which are free of charge, free consultations, medical checkup, screening for reproductive cancers, meaning cervical cancers, prostates, and the rest. We can check your body mass index and advise you. If you wish to dance, we have two types of dances today, Zumba and salsa dance. There will be exhibitions and many, many things more to come. So finally, permit me to express my sincere appreciation for the unconditional support we received from the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union, who today I will call her our advocate, and many other units of this commission that have helped us to do this event. Many of them I cannot even count. Finally, my dedicated medical team deserves a lot of commendation for their untiring efforts and complete dedication to jobs. Thank you so much, and I wish you a healthy lifestyle day and also a joyful and memorable experience today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, please let's give our director another round of applause for setting the stage very well. And as you've heard, there are a lot of exciting things out there. So I would encourage all of us to visit the booths. We're having mental health and nutrition booths. We have CPR training, health screening. We even have a fresh fruit and vegetable market today. And for all of us who like to have foot massages, there's going to be a pedicure and a spa there dedicated for that. So there's a lot of good things happening out there. But we are going to have the main course here, and then that's going to be the dessert. So at this juncture, I want to invite the president of the AU Staff Association, Mr. Nuhu Tiam, for his remarks. Yeah, please welcome.
Good morning, distinguished colleagues, participants. I would like from the outset to recognize the President of the DCP, Her Excellency Dr. Monique. I would like to greet the entire participant here. Before I go to the content of my speech, I would like to say I'm not happy the way I see this room is empty. This is a very important topic when we talk about our life, our health. I would have believed the attendance would have been more and more important, but it seems like we are interested to go to attend meetings, birthdays, and other parties, but to miss this very important opportunity. But maybe also the range of activities which are ongoing I really would have loved to see more people in this event. Allow me to first at all indicate the importance and the priority of health. I do not want to dwell into the substance because I'm not a health practitioner. I think most of the substantive elements related, health related, have been mentioned by Dr. Adamu. What I would like to talk about in my capacity as a representative of the staff is about the entire performance of the institution, the African Union. If you have healthy staff, basically you have a good performance. So let us be more attention and careful to our health, and also give importance to these events, which I think is the second time, as indicated, after COVID-19. I would like to say that maybe Dr. Adamu omitted it, but I have to put it in clarity. This event was jointly organized by the Staff Association and the Medical Center. It's not something that medical can take the ownership, and I will keep quiet. It was on a bracket. I have to open it. I'm very transparent, and I don't go to the corridors to express what I want to express. So in those notes, I really would like to thank the medical team in joint and close collaboration with the Staff Association Secretariat, who have made these events to happen. I don't want to go into details. I would like to conclude here by expressing my gratitude to Dr. Brook, Dr. Job, Sister Yerus, Ms. Ghana, and Michelle. I thank you all. I don't want to keep people as we have lost some time. Maybe I will be also followed by Her Excellency, Dr. Malik. I thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, President, for that. Indeed, we recognize that this is a joint venture between the Medical Directorate and the AU Staff Association. So thank you for that reminder. I'm going to invite once again our esteemed director to invite Her Excellency, the DCP. And as he makes his way, again, remember that the theme for the event is a healthy plate, a healthy mind, okay? And that the slogan is stay healthy and travel safely, okay? Thank you. So welcome, Director.
Okay. Thanks again. Ladies and gentlemen, before I invite the Deputy Chairperson, I want to announce a little adjustment in our schedules. We are supposed to go for a group photo and coffee break immediately after Her Excellency. But now that we lost some time and we really want Her Excellency to listen to our presentations and other excellencies, as soon as she finishes her statement and officially opens this event, we will ask our professionals and resource persons to continue with presentations. We'll take the presentations on travel medicine, and after that, we will actually go for some quick photo and some break. Then when we come back, we take the mental health presentation. I hope you bear with us and understand the importance of these presentations. With that, I have the pleasure and the privilege to really recognize and invite here our advocate for the Medical Directorate. And I have many reasons why I'm saying that. This madam gives approval to us always within 24 hours. If we send a memo to her, we want to evacuate somebody. I don't know how she sees our memos, but within 24 hours, we get approvals. She has a pet project which we want to implement beginning from early next year, which we call the Baby Care Project. She's very passionate about women, about staff, about the Medical Directorate. She has been advocating for us. She has been fundraising for us. She has been trying to get as much funds as possible for us to get diagnostic machines, laboratory items. I can go on and on and on, but the only thing I want to say to you, Excellency, we thank you so much for making medical a special directorate under your office. Thank you so much for that. And for this, I want to invite Her Excellency, the Deputy Chairperson of the Africa Union, Dr. Monique Sanzawaganga. Please come over to the podium. Let's have a round of applause.
I need some ponderation. Bonjour et chères sœurs, chers frères, Your Excellencies, everyone, all protocol observed. Thank you, Dr. Adamu, for the recognition. But maybe what you omitted to say is that this is one of the many directorates under my immediate and direct purview, and one, of course, which is critical. I wish we could be having medical files on the side of prevention more than on the side of curative, or when we have to do evacuations. That's scary. Actually, one of these, the reasons we have this activity today, and I thank you, medical team, I thank you, staff association, is that also we are conscious about the most critical capital we have in our organization, which is us, the humans. This is a knowledge-based intergovernmental organization. And what we do on a daily basis requires us to be actually strong and healthy. And the risks are so many. I look forward to hearing more about some of the risks that we face on every day without even knowing about them, about all those aspects that the resources persons are going to cover, whom actually I thank very much for having made the travel to Addis to come and assist us. Thank you so much. I would like to welcome all of us here. Like Tiam said, I wish this room was full. But I saw a couple of, maybe 20, dozens of people coming. I hope they'll keep coming. Yes, there is someone also coming in. Maybe by the time we end the day, you will have more, almost double this size. But this also tells a story of how actually we needed to do more, and maybe at different intervals in a year to see where we can find better timing for this important activity. I would wish we find also ways for the leadership of the commission and everyone else. They need this actually very, very dearly. So as I welcome you to this Healthy Lifestyle Day, a day which is devoted to promoting and advancing the values of wellness, balance, and vitality, allow me also to say that at the heart of this, our organization's mission is unwavering commitment to fostering a positive and thriving environment for all our members. We focus on collaboration, we focus on innovation, and delivering the best outcomes for our clients, for our stakeholders, for our community. But none of this can happen without healthy individuals. We recognize that our collective success is built on the well-being of each and every one of us. We often overlook the significance of caring for ourselves in our busy environment. We find it hard to achieve work-life balance. Sometimes we fail to meet family obligations and expectations. Sadly, this behavior leads to ill health, disharmony at home, stress and exhaustion, or even mental health impairment. However, it is precisely this care, that is, the attention we pay to our mental, our emotional, and our physical and social well-being, that allows us to thrive and flourish in our social, professional, and personal spheres. There is a proverb that says that he or she who has health has hope, and he or she who has hope has everything. That's why I commend the co-organizers of this event, the Medical Directorate and the Staff Association, for organizing this timely event. It is the right step in the right direction, and I salute your initiatives. As we gather here today, let us reflect on how we can make conscious choices that promote a happier, healthier life. Conscious choice is very critical. Sometimes, we know what to do, but sometimes we feel it's very hard to change habits. I'm told for a new habit to be adopted, you have to try it. I don't know if it's 7 times 70, like the Bible says, but you have to be conscious about it and to be deliberate about it. And also to have peer, not pressure, but, some support that is going to keep you accountable and to your own commitment. It's very, very difficult. I know this for a fact because I've been struggling to make some tweaks in my lifestyle so that I can keep healthy, and with all these things we juggle on everyday basis. Sometimes I have it, sometimes I lose it, depending on, but having always, those buddies around you, cheering up or even asking, you're losing it, you should focus, you should get back. That's important. So we need a collective of practice. It's like when you go to your sports club, you may be dragging your feet waking up in the morning, but when you remember that there is someone who is going actually to call you and say, oh, where are you? Maybe it can give you some more appetite to just push yourself and go through it. So conscious choice is very, very important. So living a healthier lifestyle is more than just eating nutritious foods or staying active. It's a holistic approach to our wellness, which includes fostering positive relationships, managing stress, nurturing our mental, spiritual, and emotional health that impacts our energy levels, our creativity, our relationships, and our ability to handle challenges that come our way. Like in my capacity in charge of admin and finance for this organization, actually, if you don't invest in this, in what else are you going to invest? Because you need your performance. And then you need people to just remain healthy. I think employers, we need to be sensitized more about how much we need to invest in this field. And I trust and I thank our member states because they are getting it. They have started approving some initiatives that are actually going towards being more proactive having some capital investment in this field, which is very, very critical if we want indeed to be productive as an organization, in addition to being also successful as professionals, because we also have that individual objective of being successful and fulfilled. It's about finding a balance in every aspect of our lives, allowing us to be the best selves, not only for ourselves, but for those we love and the communities that need our service. Today is not just a celebration, but a reminder that small changes can lead to big transformations. And it is up to us to control and manage our life and maintain our well-being. Whether it's taking a time to enjoy a nutritious meal, or engage in physical activity, or simply practice mindfulness. Every step we take towards healthier lifestyle is an investment in our future. We also acknowledge the importance of education and support in making healthy choices accessible to everyone. It's crucial that we create environment that people feel empowered to make the right decisions, where health is within reach for all, regardless of background or circumstances. So, on this Healthy Lifestyle Day, let us think about how we can integrate wellness in our daily routines. I encourage each of you to embrace the opportunity to make positive changes in your own lives. Let us lead by example and inspire others to prioritize their health, to care for their bodies and minds, and to live each day with vitality and purpose. Together, we can foster a culture of well-being that not only impacts ourselves, but also ripples out to our families, our communities, and the generations to come. We are laying the groundwork for a healthier and successful future. So thank you, and here is to live healthier and happier life. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you, Excellency, so much for that speech. I'm here to recognize a gentleman and actually a mental health expert that I forgot to mention. Dr. Rajani, welcome here. We appreciate you coming and we look forward to your presentation. But the biggest one I omitted, of course, is our colleague and the President of Staff Union, Mr. Nuhu Chiam. I really, really appreciate your contribution and your support to organizing this. We learned a lot from you, and your team has been extremely helpful. I can even assure you, if you wish to seek re-election, you get my vote. Thank you so much. Now I'll hand you back to the MC. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Director, for those additional remarks. And thank you, Your Excellency, for that powerful speech that challenges us to seek to live healthier lives and to seek to be conscious about our decisions to look for health. I mean, for healthy living. As I said, these things sometimes they don't come automatically. We have to make conscious decisions. We have to be intentional. We have to be deliberate to be able to be healthy. And again, we only have one body to live, and so we better keep it healthy. I still want to remind you about the theme of the day, which is a healthy plate, a healthy mind, stay healthy, and travel safely. And with that, I want to again reintroduce, I know Director had introduced our esteemed faculty, but I'm going to reintroduce them again because they are going to be the ones giving us the 3 important health talks about travel safety. With us, we have Dr. Charles Tarimo, who is all the way from Tanzania. He comes from the Pan-African Travel Medicine Federation, and he's going to be talking to us about pre-travel health advice, the do's and the don'ts. And because we travel a lot, I think this is extremely relevant to all of us. After that, we are going to have Professor Gerald. Professor Gerald, as the director said, is an accomplished travel medicine expert. And if you just Google his name, you're going to come across so many photos of him in many places. And he has published extensively on the topic of travel medicine. And there's no better person to talk to us today about travel medicine than Professor Gerald. And then after that, we are going to have healthy issues for air travelers. Again, a very relevant topic for all of us today, after which we are going to have a tea break. So I want to invite Dr. Charles. You can take the stage. And after that, Professor. And then after that, the both of you are going to come, and then we are going to go for a tea break. So please, welcome. Yeah, a round of applause for them.
Yes, this is a mighty stage to be on, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Her Excellency, the DCP of the AUC. Thank you, President of the AU Staff Association. Thank you, Director Dr. Adamu, and your team for making our presence here today possible. I would also like to thank all members of the union for taking time to come here today to listen to us. And I always appreciate the presence of my elders anywhere I go and pay respect to them. Thank you for having time to come here. It is a great opportunity for me to be on this mighty stage. It makes me shake a bit. It's my first time to be at the African Union, and it's quite a pleasure to be here. And it makes me think of a great future. And with this, I want to say, may the union continue to grow in strength. And Tanzania is part of the union, and I'm here to represent also my country. Another thing that I would like to thank is the people that have attended us since we came. We had an event yesterday. I see some familiar faces. Samuel here, thank you for introducing us. Thank you very much. It's been a very warm welcome here, and I'm very happy to be here today with my team. Travel medicine is quite a new field, might not be well known to some of you, Her Excellency. I'm very happy to introduce travel medicine to you. And it is a field that is not well known, especially in Africa. In Tanzania, it's quite new. And I'm one of the few there who are practicing travel medicine. And it's an honor for you to have our presence here today for travel medicine as a new field. So thank you very much. Sorry, I'm just going to go to the first slide. My apologies. So I will be talking about pre-travel health advice, the do's and don'ts. I was informed that most of you are traveling a lot, and I think this is very important information that will equip you with the knowledge that you need during your travel. So the first thing that I would like to emphasize is that it's quite important to talk to your health practitioner before traveling. Planning a trip is quite time-consuming, and it might be easier if you are a healthy person, but it can be quite challenging and a nightmare if you are having some pre-existing conditions. But talking to your travel practitioner actually is the best starting point for you to be able to plan your trip safely. I looked at some important aspects, and these aspects are more covered for, will cover more for a business traveler, as you are quite much business travelers. But it will also equip you with the basic knowledge of just the do's and don'ts of you traveling. So the important aspects that we're going to look at today are things like a pre-travel consultation, and this is the place where you talk to your health practitioners and get the health education and skills to be able to equip you with the knowledge and means to protect yourself. Food and water safety, we all have to eat and drink when we travel, so this is quite important also, and we're going to cover the do's and don'ts for that. Malaria prevention. So malaria is quite a challenging issue in the globe, especially in Africa. And we have quite some people being affected with it. So we're also going to cover that. Vaccinations. Vaccination is one of the means of prevention of illness, so it's also an important aspect that we're going to cover. Traveling with medication, especially if you're a healthy person, maybe traveling with medication that will help you with a few things that, for example, pain, or traveling with medication just to relieve allergies, or just some topical medication that will help you in your trip. But you have people with pre-existing medical conditions. And these people have medications that they're using daily. We sometimes term them as the chronic medications. And it's also quite important for you as a traveler and having these medications that you're going to use daily to be able to plan well and have them so as to be safe and healthy during your trip. Travel insurance is also another topic that is quite important. Your medical insurance can make a difference, really. It can even put the difference between time and life and death when it comes to a life-threatening illness or problem that you face during your travel. Travel health kits, these are also essential companions, the tools that you will have with you to help you during your trip. So we'll also look at the do's and don'ts for travel health kits. So, pre-travel consultation. How many of you go to their health practitioners before traveling? None. So it's time to start going to your health practitioner to discuss about your travel before you travel. And what are the do's in this? You should visit your practitioner quite early. Early planning will make a safer trip, but there is a time that is reasonable to do this. So the time that is reasonable is between 4 to 6 weeks before your travel. But the don'ts are, you should not travel without seeing your travel practitioner. It's better to go at last minute than not go at all, because that last minute consultation might have some important information that will help guide you through your traveling and might make a huge difference between your life and death. Food safety, as I said, we all have to eat. The slogan today is a healthy plate, a healthy mind. So a healthy plate also includes being cautious about what you're eating to protect yourself during your travel, to make sure that you're cautious about the food hygiene, you're cautious about the water hygiene. So The do's of this are to make sure that you're eating well-cooked food. And the fruits and vegetables that you're going to have are best to be peeled and peeled by yourself. There is a slogan that we use, peel it, cook it, peel it, or leave it. So that's what we usually use when you're doing a consultation to shorten this explanation. Street foods are known to be quite delicious, but you should actually be cautious with them, especially if you're traveling to a new area and you're not familiar with the foods, then best avoid the street foods. Be cautious of your choices. Even when you go to the 5-star restaurants, you might think that you're safe, but always be cautious. You can also get some things that might affect your health, even in the 5-star hotels. Think about if you're going to travel in a low-income country. Always think about, okay, who's preparing your food? Does this person have a 5-star life where they live? They might be living in challenging conditions and not having the best hygiene. So always be cautious, even when visiting the 5-star hotels. The don'ts of this are you should avoid eating raw food. Bushmeat and game meat is not safe. Sometimes the bushmeat and game meat have some diseases that you can get from them. Your food should, don't eat food that you're not sure if it's been covered, it's been left open there for too long. You might have some interesting insects going there and laying a few things that might give you some diseases. Unwashed or unpeeled fruits, also not safe to use, and avoid raw vegetables. Even back home, when I go to a restaurant, I do my best to just avoid the salads, and I stick more to the well-cooked foods. Water safety, hydration is important. You'll always need to drink, be very cautious, because if you're not sure of the source of water, then you'd rather not have it. So what are the do's of this? It's best if your water is boiled or bottled. That's the safe way to go. Carbonated beverages, and make sure that they are sealed. Those are also the safe thing to do. Tea and coffee for us. I appreciate the coffee in Ethiopia. It's wonderful. And yes, you best have it when it's hot. What are the don'ts now? Avoid tap water, yeah, or well water if you're not sure of the source. I'd say if you're traveling, I'd rather avoid it anyway, because just imagine you getting ill out of food, and then this will have to shorten your trip or even end it. You become incapacitated, and you can't really engage in what you're supposed to do there. So it's best to be cautious about that. And I would always avoid ice in the drinks, because you're not sure about where this ice comes from or what water was used to make the ice. So be cautious about putting ice in your drinks. Sorry, I think I'm going. Okay. Insect bite prevention is another important aspect that we have to look at. You're sure of getting some insect bites when you're doing some adventure activities, but be sure that even if you're in a 5-star hotel, you might have some guests coming to you and forcefully being your companion. And one of the common ones is the mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are quite the vectors for transmission for many diseases. The notorious disease that is really challenging Africa is malaria, but you also have some other diseases like dengue, chikungunya, and Zika, and there's many more that are vector-borne illnesses. So bite prevention is quite important when you're traveling. Bites can be painful, But let's pay attention to mosquitoes and ticks, because they can actually transmit some quite life-threatening diseases. So always protect yourself. And with that, we are going to look at bite prevention. What are the do's there? The first do is just prevent a bite. That's the first do. Prevent a bite. If you see there's quite some mosquitoes going around, then maybe don't stay too long in that area. Wearing long sleeve clothes that cover you is also a good way to protect yourself. Sleeping in nets. And nets are usually insecticide treated nets that can offer quite some protection. Apply and don't forget to reapply repellents. Because sometimes we apply it once and then we think it's going to stay on for the whole day, but it actually doesn't. So you should actually read the instructions and see how many times you're able to apply the particular repellent that you're going to use. Look at the brand, look at the best recommendation. Sometimes even look at the percentage of those repellents that you're using, because it's quite significant to see the percentage, because it will offer more protection if the percentage is right. Households, and even if you're going to a hotel, just make sure that check the windows. Are they closed? Are there any rips in the window screen? Is your door properly closing? So these are some of the things that you might not think of, but are quite important to look at. And always seek medical attention, especially if you start presenting with symptoms. And this applies for any case that you have, whether it's a fever or you're just having a rash. Please always seek medical attention immediately, because this can make quite a difference. The don'ts, well, the don'ts are quite obvious. Don't ignore the do's of preventing a bite. And the sun is quite much, especially in Africa, if traveling in Africa. So we always tend to apply sun protection. But don't forget that if you're going to use a repellent, maybe put it on top of the sun protection. Put sun protection first and then apply your repellent next. Don't delay seeking medical attention, as I mentioned, because this can make a difference between your life and death. Vaccinations, as I mentioned before, this is also another key preventive measure. And in travel medicine, there are components that we look at. So the first component that we really pay attention to and instill in people is the health education first, because this is the best skill that you will have during your travel. But the second thing that we usually advise is about vaccinations as a means of prevention for diseases. So what are the do's for this? Some of us may have our vaccination records or not, but if you do have your records, please make sure you check if your vaccinations are up to date. And it's good to discuss this with your health practitioner, because they have the skills to know which vaccines are supposed to be given at which time, and the duration of these vaccines. You might not be confident with that. So health practitioners play a significant role in this, and they can guide you on which vaccines you need to get. Now, vaccinations, if you need to get multiple vaccinations, you actually need some time before you travel to get these vaccinations. And because of this, you need to go to your traveler practitioner early. And some vaccinations cannot be given at the same time, so they need some time apart. So if you're planning to travel and you have quite some vaccinations to get, it can be a problem if you have only 1 day left to travel. For example, yellow fever, you have to be given at least 9 or 10 days before you travel. But some people actually go a day before to get the yellow fever vaccination, which is not the case. And we're quite lucky that sometimes I know the immigration office doesn't really check. Once they see the yellow card, then they just let you through. But let's be cautious with this. The don'ts are don't leave to go to your travel without making sure that you've checked your vaccinations. If you go to different destinations have different disease risks, and for us travel medicine practitioners, we quite know and have systems in place to check which vaccinations are recommended in different destinations. And we can actually quite advise the vaccinations that you should get according to your traveling. So do your best to see your practitioner and get your vaccinations done. Traveling with medication. Some of us are healthy, but we still need to carry some medication to help us through our trips. And some of us have some underlying medical conditions that make it important for us to travel with medication. Just imagine if you're hypertensive or diabetic and you're using daily medication and you have to travel with it. You have to make sure that when planning your trip, you have enough medication to last you the trip, but also take a bit extra because you might not know the nature of your itinerary to be, and it might take you longer to get to your destination, or your stay might have to be extended. So take enough medication. Separating your medication in different bags. This is very important. If you have a bag to check in, put some medication there. If you have a bag to carry on, put some medication there, and maybe have some in your pocket, just in case. Some people lose bags on their travel, and you want to make sure you have at least a few doses of your medication. Just imagine if you're hypertensive or have a heart disease, and you lose all your medication because you put it in the luggage that you check in, and your luggage is lost. It can mean a serious problem, especially if you're in a new country. So remember to do this, and make sure you carry a prescription. Sometimes you might get asked in different countries if you have a prescription for the medication that you're on. Make sure this prescription has your doctor's name and all the details of your doctor, and it has actually the name of your name as it appears on your passport. Otherwise, it can be a problem. Some people have been detained because of not having prescriptions at airports. So please do this, and don't ever travel without your medication. You might have medication that it can be impossible to get in another country, and some countries have different rules in when they procure or have medication in the countries, and the pharmacists in here, if there's any, they can quite understand that some medications are not given in some countries and not allowed, and some are banned even. So make sure you just have your medication. And speaking of banned medication, you might be in trouble if you don't have a prescription and that medication is banned. So always prepare for this. Travel insurance. This is a topic that is quite much discussed in travel medicine because it's challenging when you're in another country and you have a problem that requires huge funds and you're not insured. This can become a thing that can make a difference between your life and death. And always, when you're getting the insurance policy, try to read between the lines, because some of these insurance policies, they put the lines very, very small ones so that you don't pay attention. But you should actually pay attention to the lines, because it actually matters how you're going to be covered. If you're going on an adventure and you're not covered for particular activities in that adventure, if you're going mountain climbing and then your insurance doesn't cover that, if you get a problem, they will not insure you, and you'll be in quite some trouble. Some insurance policies demand that you pay up front, and you can claim later on. So just imagine if you don't have the funds to pay for for your, maybe if you need a procedure done. One of the leading problems in Africa is accidents. So if you need to surgery done after an accident and your insurance is not covering you, or you don't have insurance, and you have to pay huge funds, that's going to be quite a problem. You might get delays in service. And even medical evacuation becomes a problem if you don't have insurance. The don'ts, I always insist, don't travel without your travel insurance. It's something that we always say in travel medicine. I remember once traveled to another country without medical insurance, and when I was actually going to a travel medicine conference, and I forgot to get travel insurance. Just imagine. And as they were presenting in the front, one of the moderators who knew me asked me, Charles, did you get travel insurance? And I wanted to hide because just imagine if I had a problem there and huge funds were needed, I would be in quite some trouble. So make sure you do take your travel insurance. And I think the Directorate of Health here will be very keen in making sure that you are insured during your travels. Travel kits, I initially mentioned them that these are just essential tools. And if you look at traveling with medication, your travel medication should be in your travel kit, or at least separate some in there. Travel kits have essential tools to prevent minor problems or help you during minor problems. They have your over-the-counter medication and also your chronic medication or your prescription medications that you're using. So kits can be quite handy, especially if there's limited resources or if you need immediate assistance. The kits can offer quite some help. So always have a basic kit. If you have health issues, always speak to your travel practitioner to guide you on how to customize your kit. The kits can vary in size because of duration that you're going to stay in a particular travel, and also the complexity will depend on if you have medical issues. So this is why it's also quite important to talk to your health practitioner. We sometimes forget about the kits. You know, you travel, you put it in your bag, you don't use it, you go on another trip. If you're a multiple traveler, then you might find yourself not touching that kit and not updating the medication that is in the kit. So always check it to make sure that you have your medication in place. And the don't is don't travel without it. So planning ahead of your trip is essential to make the most of your travel experience. If you are traveling and just imagine your trip is not well planned, it might have to end, and sometimes or cause delays in your trip. So not planning can delay or end your trip. With that, I want to really insist on getting travel advice or getting a pre-travel consultation with your health practitioner, because this is the initial place for you to get the health knowledge and to be able to safely to plan a safe and healthy trip. This is my last slide, and I want to just say thank you. This slide is a slide of the clinic where I practiced back in Tanzania, and that's my family there back home that I practice with, and you're very much welcome to come to visit our clinic when you're in Tanzania. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Charles, for that excellent presentation. Prof, I'm going to invite you next to talk to us about health, high altitude sickness. And as you make your way, we will have maybe 20, 25 minutes for the presentations, and then we'll take a short break and come back again and talk about mental health. So, Prof, please yours. Yeah.
Great. While we wait for the slides to load, Your Excellency, it's lovely to meet you. Mr. Director, distinguished guests, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be here. I hope you've followed Dr. Charles's sage advice. He captured everything in that lecture now, so I hope you took notes. Now for something completely different. I have an interest in high-altitude medicine. One of the ways I got involved in travel medicine over 20 years ago. Just stay on the title slide, yeah. And I think we're all interested in high places, right? When we talk about heaven, we look up. We're always aspiring to achieve a higher altitude in life. Somebody, of course, once said, it's not your aptitude, but your attitude that determines your altitude, right? So I think this is a topic of general appeal. Looking at the audience, I think we have a combination of healthcare practitioners and lay travelers, but we're all travelers of some kind or another. So hopefully you'll enjoy this lecture. We'll touch on these areas. You do need to know a little bit of the high altitude physiology. I'll talk to you a little bit about how we acclimatize to high altitude. Acclimatization is not the same as adaptation. People who are genetically adapted have lived at high altitude for generations and generations. There are few of those people on Earth. The people who are most genetically adapted to hypoxia are the Tibetans, and many of them actually guide wealthy amateur trekkers to the summit of Everest. Perhaps next best in terms of genetic adaptation to altitude are the Andeans, the people who live in the Andes of South America. But you also have in the highland areas of East Africa people who have achieved a particular genetic adaptation, and they have a particular phenotype. You know, they look different, they have barrel chests, and they utilize oxygen better than we do. I'm certainly not from one of those areas. Ireland has a lot of mountains, but none of them is high enough to reach the definition of high altitude. And where I live, it's close to the sea, so perhaps that's why I'm interested in high mountains. I'll talk to you a little bit about what can happen at high altitude, but this is Africa Healthy Lifestyle Day. Happy Africa Healthy Lifestyle Day to you all. And so you should know that actually there are some health benefits to spending time at altitude. The little research we have in this area suggests that people who spend at least 2 weeks at moderate altitude, now that's much higher than Addis Ababa, because this is not a high altitude city, it's at intermediate altitude. So people who spend time at moderate altitude achieve improvements in their HDL cholesterol, which of course is cardioprotective. It shuttles atherogenic LDL cholesterol from your arterial walls. So that's good. You want a higher HDL. And also it improves your glycemia by improving your insulin sensitivity. So we didn't talk at all in the last 2 days about the health benefits of travel. This is a topic very close to my heart. I hope in the future we will do that because we dwell too much on the risks of international travel. And you're all highly motivated to travel, so there must be some perceived benefit, if not on a mental level, also at a physical level. So we'll talk about some of the dangers of traveling to high altitude. High altitude cerebral and pulmonary edema are fatal unless a person descends. These are serious conditions. But they won't affect most people going to high altitude, but you do need to be very aware of them. If you're practicing travel medicine, you do need to be able to give the advice that I'm including in this lecture at the very minimum. We'll talk to you a little bit about how to prevent high altitude illness. Some people are very susceptible to it, and there are not good sea-level physiologic tests you can do. Years ago, there was a suggestion that if you measure how long a person can hold their breath at sea level, you could predict their exercise performance at high altitude. That's been discounted. So it isn't easy to predict from looking at a person or measuring their oxygen saturation at sea level how they'll perform at high altitude. And the danger is that people who are very fit at high altitude are fit at sea level, run marathons and ultramarathons and so on, might assume that they have an advantage when it comes to high altitude. It's not the case. Sometimes the fittest suffer most illness because the rate of ascent is too fast. So I'll talk about that. And then in the end, if you're still awake, I'll talk a little bit about sleep at high altitude. If you go to higher places than Addis Ababa, this can be important. So there's lots of high places in the world, but all of the 8,000 meter plus peaks are in the Himalayas. Kilimanjaro is the highest freestanding mountain in the world. I climbed it in 2003. It's an extraordinary sight to see it pop up out of the savannah in Tanzania, in Charles's country. It really is an extraordinary sight and a beautiful mountain. But the first very high mountain I climbed was also in Africa, was Mount Kenya. That's your second highest mountain. And a really beautiful place. Very, very different to Kilimanjaro. I've also trekked Mount Toubkal in Morocco and then some smaller mountains in South Africa, as well as many mountains in the Himalayas, in Russia, and in the Andes. In an earlier stage of my life, when I had more time, I used to volunteer as an expedition physician for various charities. In fact, one of them was a cardiac charity that's quite close to my heart. And so I was the team physician, but of course I was just a member of the team as well, and so I had to be very careful to stay well myself. I used to tell the group of volunteers that, you need to be able to look after me if I get sick as well. So in my briefings, I used to teach them a little bit about high altitude medicine. But many people travel to high places deliberately. I have colleagues who don't understand why we would do that. Why would you go to hypoxic environments? But there's a certain attraction to going to high places. Look at how beautiful the mountains are on the right. From the top, this is Mount Kinabalu, a very sacred mountain to the people of Malaysia. It's not a difficult mountain, except you have to summit in one night. You have one night to sleep on the mountain, so your rate of ascent is quite fast. The same with Mount Fuji in Japan. When I trekked that, I saw a lot of people really struggling on the way up, not because of its absolute altitude, and you get bussed to 7,000 feet, so you're already halfway there. But then you have to ascend 7,000 feet in the space of one night. You don't even sleep on the mountain. So a lot depends on the rate of ascent, not just the absolute altitude of the mountain. More about that later. And then, can anybody identify the mountain beneath Mount Kinabalu? That's closer to you. That's in Morocco. That's Mount Toubkal, an extraordinary place. It's in the high Atlas Mountains, and from the summit, you can see the Sahara Desert. It really is extraordinary. And there's still snow on top. But the snow, even in Kilimanjaro, is melting fast with climate change. So, whoever thought of having a human habitation in Addis Ababa was very wise indeed. You're at the perfect altitude in Addis Ababa. It's about the same as the pressurized cabin of a commercial aircraft at cruising altitude. So you're all able to fly. So therefore you should have no fear traveling to Addis Ababa because you've flown to get here, many people. It's about the same altitude. And as I said, it doesn't meet the definition even of high altitude. So people sometimes are concerned when they're flying to high cities. You're one of the highest cities in the world, the highest in Africa, but there are far more lofty cities. Lhasa in Tibet, Quito in Ecuador, where I was last year, Bogota, La Paz in Bolivia. So certain cities are very high. Addis Ababa is not so high. People generally do not live above 5,000 meters. They know after that it's very difficult to acclimatize, and they tend to deteriorate. So people on Mount Everest, above about 7,000 meters, deteriorate. You can't spend an indefinite amount of time above about 7,000 meters. And then when you reach the summit of Everest, for every gulp of air, of course you're breathing much faster, there's about a fifth of the oxygen molecules in every breath. So you have to work so much harder to breathe. But the good thing about Addis Ababa is that if you look at the oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve, how your body handles oxygen, it's well within that flat part of the curve. So if Addis Ababa were much higher, 3,000 meters or higher, then you would start to see a more precipitous drop in the patient's oxygen saturation at that altitude. But fortunately, at 2,355 meters, you can defend your oxygen saturation very well through compensatory mechanisms. One of them is that you urinate more. You make your blood more acidic. You might notice we're urinating more here. High altitude diuresis is common. So when you come to a high city, expect to be urinating more. That's normal. So yes, Addis Ababa, hopefully I've allayed your fears around the hypoxic challenge of Addis Ababa. It's not that high, and it's really perfectly designed for you to cope with it. As you can see, as you go higher from Ben Nevis in Scotland to the summit of Everest, through Mount Aconcagua in Argentina, Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, you start to see evidence of cognitive impairment. And certainly at extreme altitude, people will find it difficult to recall things. Their cognition will be significantly impaired. You can have changes in the white matter of the brain that are demonstrable on MRI. And I always found myself, I suppose, above about 5,000 meters, less dexterous as well. So it causes psychomotor impairment, but that's not a significant issue in a high city, especially if you've been living there for a while. So these are the categories of altitude. So Addis Ababa belongs to the intermediate altitude group. There are high cities at between 2,500 and 3,500 meters. Many ski resorts in Europe and elsewhere are at that altitude, but you don't sleep on top of the mountain, you sleep low down in the valleys. So you've got very brief exposure to the high altitudes. And then some of the more popular trekking environments, such as in the Himalayas and the Andes, like the Inca Trail in Peru, belong to the very high altitude category. And Kilimanjaro just about belongs to the extreme altitude category at 5,895 meters above sea level. But high altitude medicine is relevant not just to trekkers, the people who help them to summit mountains, the porters, the guides, also to the airline industry. Pilots are very tuned into the effects of high altitude. And the cabin pressure altitude of about 2,500 meters at cruising altitude is a compromise. You could possibly get it to sea level, but it'd be very expensive. You'd use a lot more fuel, and the structure of the fuselage would have to be completely different in order to withstand that pressure. So that is a compromise. You're not at sea level when you're in an aircraft cabin. That's why you don't feel 100% when you get out. But it keeps you in that flat part of the oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve so that you can maintain your oxygen saturation reasonably well. What's your oxygen saturation at the moment in Addis Ababa? So mine is 98%. So it's 99% at home. So it doesn't drop very much in a high city like this. But at the top of Mount Everest, even with acclimatization, it'll be in the 60s, very, very low level. The lowest it ever was for me at high altitude was, I think, 72. But again, incredibly, the body adapts or acclimatizes to that and protects you. If your oxygen saturation were to drop quickly to that level, you would suffer cardiac arrest within minutes. But that doesn't happen when your body acclimatizes to high altitude. So the process of acclimatization is really quite remarkable. Some pilgrims go to high places in India, Nepal. There are high altitude railways around the world, very high one in Tibet that links mainland China with Tibet. Each one of those trains, I'm told, has its own doctor and nurse, has oxygen if you need it, and the carriages are hermetically sealed, to maintain that pressure. So these are very sophisticated trains. Some people work in radio telescope stations around the world. It's great when you're at high altitude because there's just less air between you and the stars. And some of those are in Hawaii. Sometimes people have to evacuate victims of some illness at high altitude. And that can be a problem because pilots who are not acclimatized to high altitude, having to go up quickly, may suffer the effects of acute high altitude illness. Soldiers are sometimes stationed in high places. Sometimes people compete at high altitude. So people who are genetically adapted have a performance advantage for endurance sports, marathons and so on. But sometimes competitions are held in high altitude cities, and it's very difficult actually to perform well in an endurance event at high altitude. Some people spend time deliberately at high altitude in order to train for their event. Sprinters won't do that. Their muscles will atrophy over time. It's no good for them. But the endurance athletes will want to spend time in high places. And there's different models for this. It's called high altitude training. You can spend time training high and sleeping low, different combinations of that. And this is very popular. Indeed, there are even hypoxic tents that you can spend time in order to get an advantage before you compete. I don't think it applies to us in this room, but to elite athletes who compete in endurance events, this is important. And it's legal. It's not considered illegal in terms of the IOC regulations. Mountaineers and guides have to be well acclimatized to high altitude. The guides in the Himalayas are Tibetan, so they are genetically adapted, but the porters are not. They're lowland residents, and they're Nepalese, many of them from Kathmandu, which is at altitude but not very high. And as a result, some of them could get quite sick. And then there's people who ski at high altitude, but again, they don't spend very long there. So it affects a lot of people. Charles will recognize this from the park gate at Kilimanjaro, and it gives some very good advice. It tells you to allow plenty of time for your body to acclimatize. It's vague advice, but it's still important. It really is the most important advice you could give to anybody going to high altitude. Don't rush up the mountain. The rate of ascent is the most important thing. When I see people in the clinic who are traveling to a high mountain, I always ask them, what's the maximum altitude you're aiming to reach? May or may not be a summit. And then how long you plan to get there. And they're usually then scrambling in their phones to find their itinerary. They usually don't know the answer to those two questions. If you're to give them appropriate advice in terms of prevention of high altitude illness, you need to have that information. So say to them, bring in the itinerary the next day or email it to us. Absolutely have to see that. Because just because they're going to the Andes, doing the Inca Trail, doesn't mean that they're not taking a different route, going higher, going faster. There's many routes up Kilimanjaro, as we'll see in a moment. Some of them are way too fast. And some of them are actually appropriate. Most people don't want to pay the extra money you have to pay for those ones because they take longer. So do ask your patients about that. If you're going to high altitude, that's the very least you need to know. How high you're going, your maximum altitude, and what's your ascent rate. And ideally, you break it down by day, and most companies will provide that information, so you know what altitude you're sleeping at each night. It's not the maximum altitude you reach during the day that's important, it's the sleeping altitude at night. So when you go to high altitude, you can expect these responses. This is just a summary. So you breathe faster. You probably don't even notice that in Addis Ababa. There'd be very little of an increase in your respiratory rate. But if we took you to the summit of Mount Kenya right now, you'd be panting. And so that causes the tachypnea, causes a respiratory alkalosis. That can limit your ventilation, so it's not a good thing to have a respiratory alkalosis if you're trying to oxygenate. And so the body responds very cleverly by inducing a metabolic acidosis. And it does that by releasing bicarbonate ions, which are alkaline, through your renal tubules. It takes a few days, and we all do it differently. Some are very fast at it, and some are slower. So this is a limiting factor. Some people do this step very efficiently, others less so. But we can't tell by looking at you or measuring anything about you at sea level how well you'll acclimatize. Also, your oxygen becomes stickier to the hemoglobin. The hemoglobin becomes more likely to take up oxygen because it wants to use whatever oxygen is there and deliver it to the tissues. Your carotid bodies as well become more sensitive to hypoxia. So everything is aimed at maximizing your oxygen uptake. And that's what happens. People ask about their red blood cells because they say, I've been a high place for a few weeks. Surely I'm going to have a lot of red blood cells. I'll be buzzing about the place when I get home, full of energy. That's not the case. You really have to be at least a month at high altitude to see a significant increase in your red cell production in your bone marrow. It's not something you'll see after a few days. And the effect in a high city such as Addis Ababa would be very, very slight indeed. So acclimatization is the way we orient our physiology to cope with the hypoxia caused by the low barometric pressure at high altitude. And above 3,000 meters, the rule is you shouldn't ascend more than 300 meters a day. And you should take a rest day every 2 or 3 days. And most trekking companies will do an extra hike on the day that you're resting. They won't go very high, but they'll go high enough to expose you to a lower level of oxygen, and then you sleep down in the same camp the next night. And as a result, you've climbed high and slept low that day, and that improves your acclimatization. That's if you feel well enough to do the extra hike on the day you're supposed to be resting. This is just one approach. There are others described in the literature, but this is the one I've always followed over the years. So when you look at the patient's rate of ascent in their itinerary, see, does it follow this or does it disrespect it? And look out for those days in their itinerary where they're going up way too fast. It might be that they have an uneven ascent profile. Some days they're sticking to this, and other days they're going much too fast. If you want to reach Everest Base Camp, I'd recommend it. It's an interesting place. Beautiful mountains all around you, covered in snow. You have to fly to Lukla first. And that's over 3,000 meters. And so you fly from Kathmandu, Nepal, to a high city on a very small little aircraft. Very skilled pilots. As a result, you jump a lot of altitude that day. And then on day 3, you also have a significant ascent. So there are certain days on that trail as well that you really do breach this recommended rate of ascent. And then you're much more likely to get high altitude illness following those days. So trekkers should know this as much as they can. And so, if you did respect this rate of ascent to the letter, you would take a very stepwise approach. This is a mountain in India, northern India, and this is the way you would ascend that mountain to its highest point. And that's over 6,000 meters. But you often find that campsites are at particular locations for other reasons, geographic reasons, and you have a very uneven ascent profile. So you need to understand this. This is the most important aspect of giving high altitude medicine advice. But you can see that if you follow the recommended rate of ascent, you're going to be much longer on the mountain. So there's a compromise there. If you spend too long on the mountain, you suffer other problems. You get an impairment in your immune response, your T lymphocytes don't work as well, wounds don't heal as well. Who's going to provide the fresh food? The food will not be fresh after a few days. It's much more challenging for the team to get you up there. You have to be very well equipped. Bring your own water unless there's clean water coming from a glacier on the mountain. So it is harder to be on a mountain for longer. That's why a lot of trekking companies take you up the mountains quicker. Also, it's more expensive for you to spend more time in the mountain because there's a daily permit fee usually. The Inca Trail is a very good place to start trekking. So I'd recommend if you ever get the opportunity, start there. Don't start with Kilimanjaro. A friend of mine, he's really the world's expert in high altitude medicine. He's based in Colorado. His name is Peter Hackett. And he's said more than once that the most dangerous mountain in the world is Kilimanjaro. And that's because you have people with absolutely no high altitude experience who tackle that mountain as their first ascent. It's a real bucket list item for them. They all want to reach the summit of Kili. And it's hard to hide on Kili. If you don't reach the summit, a lot of people will know. They give a certificate if you reach the summit. So people are under a lot of pressure psychologically, especially if they're raising money for a charity. And I can't imagine what it's like nowadays with the pressure from TikTok and Instagram to get a picture of yourself on the summit, to impress everybody at home. If you're a social media influencer, are you going to reveal your symptoms if you're feeling unwell? Or are you going to be absolutely determined to reach the summit? We call that summit fever. You're not actually febrile, but you are so determined to reach the summit, it can impair your judgment. And remember what we said earlier, your thinking is not clear with hypoxia, even if you start to acclimatize to it. Inca Trail is a good place to start, in my opinion. And then people tell me, why don't you prescribe medication to help people to acclimatize better on the Inca Trail? I tend rarely to do that for the Inca Trail. Always for Kilimanjaro, rarely for the Inca Trail. And they say, why not? Well, I said, the traveler is spending 2 nights in Cusco the high city. They're acclimatizing there. Their highest pass in the mountain is 4,215 meters. Sure, that's higher than Cusco, but their highest sleeping altitude is just a little bit above Cusco. If they're well acclimatized to Cusco before they start the trek, they will actually cope very well with the hypoxia on the Inca Trail. So you see, you can't answer the question unless you know the ascent profile, which means what is the altitude each day that you're sleeping at? And if somebody just looks up what's the highest point in the Inca Trail, they see 4,215 meters. It's a very unfortunate name, Dead Woman's Pass. All people do there is they take a picture at a sign, but you don't sleep there. You descend, and then Machu Picchu itself is way lower than Cusco, 2,430 meters. So, you have to know the ascent profile. That's the most important thing. This is this is a particular company, but many companies will have a similar approach, and they advertise the altitudes that you sleep at every night. And this is an example in Kilimanjaro. That's really what you want. You want a company that will tell you exactly what altitude you're sleeping at each night. And that can help you then to make decisions around choosing one trekking company over another. This has been studied in relation to Kili. A study in UK looked at whether commercial trekking companies abide by those recommended rates of ascent we quoted earlier. And the answer is they don't, for the most part. The safest route in Kilimanjaro is about a 10-night trek. Very few people do it. So it's called the Lemosho route. And that would be a much safer way to ascend Kili. It's much more expensive, and the whole team is away from home for longer. So it's not as popular as the Marangu route or the route we did, which was a bit better, Machame, where we spent 5 nights sleeping on the mountain, 6 days in total. Even that's too fast. It certainly exceeds the recommended rate of ascent. So as you can see, there's many ways to climb a high mountain. Try to spend more time on the mountain if you can. But then, of course, you get student backpackers, and they've saved up for this, but they don't have enough money for the Lemosho route. So, of course, they take the Marangu route. Higher incidence of acute mountain sickness on the faster routes, of course. In green there is the Wilderness Medical Society guidelines for rate of ascent on a high mountain. And that's really what you should be doing. Lemosho is in red, but very few people do it. And then blue is, I think, Machame, which is reasonable, or maybe Marangu. No, it's Marangu. It's quite fast. As you can see, it's going up the mountain way too fast. So bear that in mind. Rate of ascent is the most important risk factor for high altitude illness. What causes high altitude illness? In a nutshell, it's the low oxygen. It's the hypoxia. That causes the blood vessels in your brain to dilate a bit more, to open up more. It increases the volume in the skull. People displace cerebrospinal fluid into their lumbar cistern around their spinal cord differently. Some people don't displace it as well, so they don't buffer the brain swelling as well as other people. We think this is a factor that can influence whether or not they develop acute mountain sickness. So there's a degree of edema in the brain caused by blood vessels getting a bit leaky, increased capillary permeability. In the lungs, it's very interesting. The low oxygen level causes an uneven tightening of the blood vessels or vasoconstriction in different parts of the lungs. Not all over, just certain parts. The parts that have not tightened are then exposed to increased pressure in the blood, and they're overperfused, and as a result, leakage occurs into the alveoli. There shouldn't be fluid in the alveoli, very, very little anyway. There should be gas. And so then you're competing with the fluid, and that's why your oxygen level drops. And then once your oxygen level drops, you're just reinforcing this cycle, and you're more likely to get acute mountain sickness and high altitude cerebral edema. So you often see both conditions in the one patient. They may start off with acute mountain sickness. Maybe they neglect the symptoms and don't tell anybody, continue to ascend. Don't rest at that altitude or don't descend if it's severe. They develop high altitude cerebral edema. Of course, they'll go into a coma. Their brain will cone within hours to days if they don't descend. For high altitude pulmonary edema, this is more common to cause deaths at high altitude. The symptoms typically occur on night 2 for some reason. You could reach a high point, but it's actually the second night at that altitude that you have problems. What about the symptoms of these conditions? Well, this is the spectrum of illness. Nobody should die at high altitude from high altitude illness. That's the bottom line. It's preventable to a large extent, or at the very least, if it occurs, all you have to do is make sure the patient descends to a lower altitude. It doesn't have to be to the base of the mountain. It could be to the last comfortable sleeping altitude. If you wait for them to get very sick, they will need other treatment as well, and they may not survive even if you do get them to a lower altitude. So it's very, very important to be vigilant to the development of these syndromes. Acute mountain sickness is very common at high altitude. It would be very unusual for anybody to get it in a city with the altitude of Addis Ababa, but certainly people who are going to La Paz in Bolivia, some do get it. Some people are very susceptible, can even get a form of it on an aircraft, but that's most unusual. Most problems start when the oxygen level starts to drop according to that curve we showed earlier, above about 3,000 meters, and most severe cases really above 4,000 meters. But some people are very susceptible to it because of their physiology. You can never tell. What's acute mountain sickness then? Well, it's a headache, but there's other causes of headache at high altitude. So it's not the only cause of headache. You could have a headache because you're dehydrated or just from exertion. Migraine can sometimes get a bit worse at high altitude. So you must have at least one of the following symptoms, according to the Lake Louise consensus criteria from Canada, 1991. Gastrointestinal upset, usually nausea, don't feel like eating, yet you have to consume a lot more calories at high altitude, and then you don't feel like eating, you want to stay in your tent. I'm told it can be a bit like a hangover, but I've never experienced a hangover, so how would I know? But certainly nausea or vomiting wouldn't be common with acute mountain sickness. You're definitely tired, you're performing worse than the rest of the group, you're weak. You can be dizzy, although I haven't seen that much. You can be lightheaded. You can be lightheaded for other reasons at high altitude. You can be dehydrated. Should say you don't hydrate, you get dehydrated much more easily at high altitude. I see everybody drinking water here. It's no surprise. Of course, the air is drier at high altitude, lower relative humidity. Also, you're diuresing more, you're breathing a bit faster, you lose more water just from living. And your thirst sensation is a bit blunted at high altitude. Certainly in a high mountain, you have to force yourself sometimes to drink because your thirst sensation is blunted. Anyway, these are the symptoms of acute mountain sickness, not just a headache. You must ask about those other symptoms. And there's a very good questionnaire that you can get from the internet that you can use to assess your traveler. But every traveler, I feel, should know about this themselves. This is not just something for the doctor, nurse, or pharmacist to know. You need to educate them as a group before they trek so that they know about this. They can recognize it in each other. The person they're sharing the tent with could develop severe high-altitude illness. The tent mate needs to be able to recognize this. What about high-altitude cerebral edema? Now, this can occur in a patient who's got acute mountain sickness. It just progresses. The brain continues to swell. They don't respond to the acute mountain sickness by descending. They continue to ascend. Maybe they're really determined to reach that summit. And as a result, they start to develop symptoms of a global encephalopathy. They're unsteady. They're ataxic. Best way is to take off their boots and ask them to walk a straight line. In the early stages, you'll notice that they can't walk the straight line easily. It looks like they're going to fall over. But take the boots off because you can trip easily with those boots on. No point doing the finger-to-nose test. It's not a sensitive indicator. So ataxia is a very important sign. But you need to tell the trekking party, if anybody's looking unsteady on their feet, you need to tell somebody. And also, they might appear as if they're drunk. They might be confused. I remember I've had several patients over the years with HACE and expeditions. Not all of them in my own trekking party. They were actually in other groups. But at high altitude, if you're a medic and there's no medic in the other teams, you're also their medic. It's as simple as that. They'll wake you during the night because somebody in another party that you don't know is sick. That's the way it goes in wilderness medicine. And yes, one person who was previously very well behaved was acting very irrationally. We wondered first, was it a manic episode? But then it was clear that it was high-altitude cerebral edema. So it can just affect people's behavior. High-altitude pulmonary edema, you can see it's a very patchy shadowing in the lungs. Where you see lots of white there in the airfields on either side of the heart, that's fluid that's in the place of gas in the alveoli. It's due to increased pulmonary artery systolic pressure, increased pressure driving fluid through the pulmonary capillaries into the alveoli. But for some reason, don't really fully understand why, probably just to do with pressure hemodynamics, it preferentially affects the right middle lobe. You can see the right middle lobe there is very dense. So if you have a stethoscope, which if you're a medic in the team you should have, you can listen for crackles, particularly in the patient's right axilla. It's a very useful sign. Apart from that, you can expect the following symptoms. The patient is short of breath at rest. Now, you're allowed to be short of breath at high altitude when you're trekking, but at rest, you should be able to get your breath back. Look around the group. Are other people short of breath at rest? Well, she's short of breath at rest. There's something going on there. A cough is very common. Now, you can get a cough at high altitude because of increased sensitivity of the cough receptors. In fact, in the Himalayas, they call it a Khumbu cough, after the Khumbu Valley, where Everest is. So it's quite common. But a cough that's persistent, starting to bring up froth, pink-tinged frothy sputum, is very suggestive of high-altitude pulmonary edema. The patient is very weak. They really don't feel like going up. With this condition, I find they're very sick. And their oxygen level drops very, very quickly. So they're way lower than the rest of the group. You should be able to measure everybody's oxygen saturation. And if somebody's very, very low, you know there's something up. And nowadays, people are just using their smartwatches to measure that. I remember in the old days, I had a big, clunky pulse oximeter, and I used to bring that, but now people just use their smartwatches. And sometimes they report chest tightness. Now, what do you find in examination? They're breathing faster, their heart rate is greater, but again, comparing it with the rest of the group is the key thing. And they'll have central cyanosis. Now, if you reach a certain altitude, you might all have central cyanosis, but maybe they're reaching it at an altitude that's where everybody else is not suffering central cyanosis. Best place to assess that is under the tongue and on the lips. They might have a wheeze as well, but often it's just a clinical diagnosis. Maybe you don't even have the facilities to assess them further than that. This is a portable hyperbaric chamber. This is my own one. And very, very useful to have one of these at high altitude. Most companies don't carry them. So I think every company should have them. This is a very, very useful temporizing measure if somebody gets high altitude illness, because you can't just suddenly get them off the mountain. You have to organize the porters to carry their stuff. This can be very disruptive to the whole group. There can be terrain implications. Weather might be too bad. You might be grounded in the campsite and you cannot get down just for logistical reasons. It's not that easy. Kilimanjaro, you can drop altitude quickly. At Everest Base Camp, you don't drop altitude quickly, actually. And so there can be big delays. I remember once we had to get a helicopter in Nepal to a place called Loboche. We had to wait 24 hours to have an American woman with high altitude cerebral edema evacuated to Kathmandu. So in the meantime, portable hyperbaric chamber and medication was the key. And you pump this up, and it takes a lot of exertion, so you have to train everybody to do it. You can't keep doing it yourself, or you'll be in the tent next, because it involves a lot of exertion. You pump it every 5 seconds to discharge carbon dioxide once you've pressurized it. But it takes a few minutes to pressurize it. When it's pressurized, it's completely rigid, and you can talk to the person inside, they can hear you, it's acoustically transparent. If they start vomiting or become unconscious, you must quickly open it up. This will damage their eardrum. That's a given, but you have to do it. So hopefully you won't have to take them out. And for a condition like high altitude pulmonary edema, you leave them in there for 4 hours, pressing the foot pedal every 5 seconds, taking turns, maybe using 2 trekking poles to steady yourself. It's quite an experience, but it really is life-saving. It's as if they've dropped altitude. Maybe they've dropped 3,000 or 4,000 feet just by being in that. So they can go in, disabled, unable to help themselves, and come out with minimal assistance. And then it's much safer to bring them down the mountain. So I think they're a great device, but you do need to train people how to use it. And when I had groups going to high altitude, I made sure that they all knew how to do it in case I got sick and had to be in there as well. So that's called a portable hyperbaric chamber. What about medication? As clinicians, you'll be asked about medication at high altitude. The medication that's most commonly used to increase your acclimatization to high altitude is called acetazolamide. It's very cheap. I don't know if it's available in every country. It was originally prescribed as an antihypertensive or an anti-epileptic agent no longer used for that purpose. Now in my country, it's only used for glaucoma to reduce intraocular pressure, a different dose, but you can still get it for this purpose. But it's generally not licensed for that purpose. So if you're prescribing it, make sure you do know a good bit about the drug. It's generally very safe. You take it twice a day, different doses. You can take once a day, once at nighttime to help you sleep, because it will help you oxygenate better. It does this by limiting the respiratory alkalosis, by encouraging the cerebrospinal fluid to become more acidic, therefore you breathe faster. So it's going to make you breathe faster and deeper, increase your minute ventilation, and as a result, you'll be less hypoxic, less hypoxemic, and therefore acute mountain sickness changes, the brain will start to reverse, or you're much less likely to develop them in the first place. This is a very effective drug. It's not 100% effective. You could still develop acute mountain sickness if you're very susceptible, even if you're taking it, but it greatly reduces the incidence of acute mountain sickness and high altitude cerebral edema, and perhaps high altitude pulmonary edema to a lesser extent. You start taking it when you start climbing, take it each day, twice a day. The dose is usually 125 milligrams twice a day. You can take a higher dose, but the higher dose can make you feel tingly. Your peripheries can feel very tingly. Carbonated beverages can taste flat. And of course, you pee more often because it's encouraging a diuresis, but that's perfectly fine. That's what you want. So the Wilderness Medical Society recommends, above all else, a gradual ascent. Remember I told you about that earlier. And it's the altitude you sleep at that's most important. And it's very good evidence for that. Acetazolamide is very strongly supported, but you don't prescribe it in every case. You consider the rate of ascent. Kilimanjaro, always. Inca Trail, for me, hardly ever, except if a patient has had moderate to severe high altitude illness previously. If you know that, then you could prescribe it. What about a drug called dexamethasone, a potent steroid? You can take it orally. In an emergency, you could give it intramuscularly. This can be given if you're allergic to acetazolamide, but it does not help you to acclimatize. So it'll simply disguise the symptoms. So it's not a safe drug to be giving. You could use it at that altitude, but I wouldn't be encouraging people to continue climbing with it. And if they're diabetic, it can cause problems with diabetic ketoacidosis. And taking a steroid for the first time at high altitude, mix that with the hypoxia, it's a recipe for behavioral changes as well. There's certainly been cases of psychosis attributed to dexamethasone. So use that with great caution. Now, this is useful advice. If your patient has a history of moderate to severe acute mountain sickness, or if they've had HAPE or HACE previously, absolutely you should prescribe acetazolamide the next time. If they've had HAPE previously, your advice should be, don't ever go to that altitude again, or certainly don't go above it. They might ignore that advice, like one elite mountaineer that I advised once, he ignored that advice, and so I gave him a drug called nifedipine. Nifedipine is excellent for prevention of HAPE in those who are very susceptible. He wouldn't take my advice not to climb. So anyway, that's what happened. But as you can see, you never have to take it coming to Addis Ababa, because the altitude that you're at is well less than 2,800 meters. So there's no reason why anybody would need acetazolamide in coming to Addis Ababa. You might need it if you're going to one of the higher cities over 3,000 meters in the Andes, if you're particularly susceptible, but you have to take an altitude history from the person to really know that. And also, if you notice here, if you're exceeding that recommended rate of ascent, that's another reason to administer it as well. So you take all that into account. You do your best in terms of prescribing it. What if the patient says, I really want it, can you prescribe it for me? So you have to educate them about it and come to some compromise. So budesonide is a steroid, budesonide is not recommended for high altitude. Ginkgo biloba, which is a very interesting antioxidant herbal remedy, has been tried. It's not been proven to be any better than placebo. Ibuprofen is actually a very good drug. So if you cannot tolerate acetazolamide or dexamethasone, you could take ibuprofen. Not as effective. It's very good when you get the headache of acute mountain sickness. It's particularly effective, as long as there's no contraindication to its use. And of course, if you have oxygen, then of course you could administer that to somebody with high altitude cerebral or pulmonary edema. But oxygen is very difficult to carry. it's expensive, and therefore most companies are not going to have oxygen in cylinders for an amateur trekking company. If you have a portable hyperbaric chamber, when you pressurize it, it does the same thing. It increases the pressure around them, and it's as if they're descending. So stage descent, pre-acclimatization can be used, hypoxic tent, and coca leaves or coca tea are commonly used in the Inca Trail, but we don't recommend them. They give a positive urine test for cocaine, and also not any evidence for their use. So coming to the end now. If you're allergic to sulfonamide antibiotics, you should avoid using acetazolamide, but there's not much cross-reactivity between them. You could do a trial dose under supervised conditions if necessary. But if you've had Stevens-Johnson syndrome, absolutely, you should avoid acetazolamide. So that's a summary of the type of drugs you can use to treat somebody with severe acute mountain sickness, HACE or HAPE, combination of resting at that altitude, descending if they have HACE or HAPE, giving oxygen if you have it, put them in a hyperbaric chamber if you have it. Dexamethasone for severe AMS or HACE, nifedipine, which of course is a vasodilator for high altitude pulmonary edema, and the most important thing is descent of at least 500 meters, perhaps more. And then finally, with sleep, your sleep is affected at high altitude. You get this phenomenon of periodic breathing, and as a result, you get periods of apnea and hyperpnea. Some people are much more prone to it than others. You could wake up at nighttime in the tent. The person sharing the tent with you is having long periods, 15, 20 seconds of not breathing, and then you're alarmed and think they're dying. That's actually quite normal at high altitude. Acetazolamide improves it. You can certainly give other drugs as well, like benzodiazepines, but try not to give respiratory depressants to people going to high altitude if you can, because it will impair their acclimatization. And if you're going on a commercial trekking expedition, don't forget that the porters and guides need to be well looked after, well treated with insurance, good equipment, and that the families be looked after if they were to injure themselves. There are charters that you can sign up to that make sure that the rights of the porters and guides are respected. Golden rules of altitude, and this is really all you need to know from today's talk. If you're at altitude and you feel unwell, blame it on altitude illness until proved otherwise. I once got a call from Kilimanjaro. Somebody was short of breath. Somebody had a cough and was short of breath, but she also had asthma. And the person with the satellite phone, who was the mountaineering guide, said, "It's probably the asthma, isn't it?" And I said, "What does the patient think?" "Oh, it's probably her asthma," he said. I said, "It would be safer to assume it's HAPE. Better get her down." And it turned out it was HAPE. It wasn't her asthma at all. People with asthma actually do quite well at high altitude. Don't ascend if you've got symptoms of acute mountain sickness. That's a recipe for disaster. If you go higher, it'll be harder to deal with you up there. And you could develop HACE. Don't leave somebody with AMS alone. They should be sharing a tent with somebody else. And if you're getting worse or you've developed symptoms of HACE or HAPE, you must descend at once. And these are the wise words of David Schlim, who spent 20 years working in a clinic in Nepal, and he's a physician in travel medicine. He was a former president of the ISTM. So this is an article that you can find for free online that I wrote with a colleague of mine, which summarizes a lot of the information I gave you today. And there's a useful table which you might find helpful if you're faced with travelers who have pre-existing chronic medical conditions, like coronary artery disease, COPD, asthma, or if they've had a stroke or something. There's some useful advice. We didn't have time today to go into all of that, but I commend the article to you. It's only a few pages and you might find it useful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prof, because of your extremely detailed presentation that has a lot, and I could tell that there's so much more that you had wanted to share with us. Just because of time, we couldn't do all that. But I know in the afternoon you're still together with us, so you are going to be available to answer any questions. Now, at this juncture, I would want just to make a short announcement. We are not going to have the mental health presentation, because of time constraints. We are going to have this presentation in the afternoon by the 10th. So our expert in that regard has graciously agreed to be with us even in the afternoon session, and he's going to take that while we do our tent presentations on the other, at the parking lot on the other side. And now at this juncture, I am going to invite the three experts, Professor Gerald, Dr. Garth, and Dr. Charles, for a short panel discussion. And basically what we want to do at this point is to ask them some questions as regards to anything to do with air travel. I know we have plenty, because around the room we have people who travel a lot. You may have these burning questions that you have when it comes to issues to do with traveling, whether short travel or long-term travel, short haul or long haul flights and so forth. So we would want to take this opportunity for the next maybe 10, 15 minutes to take a few questions from the audience to them. This engagement is going to continue in the afternoon, but we want just to have this, and then after that, we are going to have our coffee stroke lunch break and release us to be able to go to the tents in the afternoon for the Zumba and the Salsa. So at this point, I want to really just invite any persons with any questions. You have the microphones, just ahead of you. You can just switch it on. You can raise your hand. I'll give you a chance, and then you can switch it on. And maybe maybe I can start that session by asking Prof to really just, for people who, we have a lot of people coming to work for the commission, coming to Addis for the first time, many of them coming from very low altitude cities and towns. So what would be the 2-3 main pieces of advice that you give to them to help them to acclimatize to this situation? And as I do this, I want to ask that we be preparing our questions.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Samuel. Just one more announcement. Her Excellency has very busy schedules. She needs to leave. We'll only allow 1 or 2 questions. After that, we'll go and have a picture with her. Then she has to go for other engagements. Excellency, it's another 5 minutes, and that's all. Thank you. 1 or 2 questions, please. You will see them at the podium, at the tents. You can ask as many questions as you like there, or at the tea break. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, great. There's a question back there. You're welcome to switch on the mic and ask. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Professor, thank you very much for this very insightful presentation. We really got a lot of information about altitude sickness and so forth. My question will be, is there a specific training? Can the body be trained to overcome sickness of altitude? Even when we fly on aircraft, sometimes, the ear is also affected at certain degree. So is there specific trainings that the body can be trained? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And then the very last one. Is there anyone who has a last burning question? Okay, if not, then I'll allow Prof to go ahead and answer.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Just to make sure I understand it, is the question relating to people who are traveling by commercial aircraft and whether they have problems with their ears, is it? Maybe I missed the question.
Thank you, Professor. It could be both ways. Yes, people traveling in aircrafts, as well as people, exercising in mountain areas, biking or running. Is there specific training for the body? Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it specific training, is it?
Yeah, it's training, not just for the ears, but in general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, but it would involve going to a lot of trouble. There are commercial facilities available where you can spend time in a hypoxic tent or chamber. Now, generally, that's the reserve of athletes, or it's used for research purposes. There is a phenomenon of carryover acclimatization. So if you do go to a high place and then go back to your sea level residence and then go to another high place within a certain interval, like within weeks, the body does seem to carry over some of that acclimatization. So if you subsequently go to a higher altitude, you're better acclimatized. But for the most part, the most important advice to give if you're flying or going to a high altitude destination, is to reduce your rate of exertion. Don't overexert yourself. So for people who live in Addis Ababa all the time, you're supremely acclimatized to this altitude. We've only been here a few days. While we're defending our oxygen level pretty well, according to the figures, if we overexert ourselves, we run up a stairs, if we do a long session in the gym on the treadmill, we will increase our risk of getting acute mountain sickness. It's probably not going to occur at this altitude, but at higher altitudes, yes, you're much more likely to get high altitude illness if you overexert yourself. So tell people to move slowly, to have bags on wheels so they don't have to carry them upstairs, to use an elevator or escalator. I mean, it's not advice I want to give in Africa Healthy Lifestyle Day, but if they're not acclimatized, that will reduce their risk of high altitude illness. Also, the air they breathe should be as warm as possible. Cold air is a risk factor for high altitude pulmonary edema. You see people living in the very mountainous parts of India and Nepal, China, who have a silk scarf covering their mouth because they know from experience that you're more likely to get HAPE if you're breathing cold air. It causes some vasoconstriction by itself. So these are other things. And keeping well hydrated. We said earlier, you can very easily get dehydrated at high altitude. You maybe don't notice it so much here, but once you go on a high mountain, you really notice it. And the water is not very palatable in some high mountains. There could be a lot of sediment in it. And so, people are reluctant to drink the water. So they have to be really encouraged to drink lots of fluids. Apart from that, they should be warned about, sleep, that their sleep might be impaired. People who are on aircraft, I'd say another thing to consider is their eyes are going to dry out. The relative humidity in an aircraft nowadays, mostly about 15%. It needs to be about 20% for your eyes to feel comfortable. So if you have contact lenses, you need to take them out and wear glasses on the aircraft. And then, of course, you can get into other things like DVT prevention, deep vein thrombosis prevention. And there's guidelines on that. But for most people who don't have an increased risk of having a venous thrombosis, we just recommend that they maintain good hydration in the flight. Don't cross their legs. Do calf exercises in their seat. That really helps. And if they have additional risk factors on a long-haul flight more than 6 hours, they could be a candidate for graduated compression stockings, flight socks that you can buy in a pharmacy. And then really high-risk people who perhaps have had a previous DVT, they may benefit from a dose or 2 doses of a low molecular weight heparin anticoagulant. But that's not done very often because there's not too many people in that category. Now, that's just the normal healthy passenger or person traveling to altitude. If a person is pre-existing heart or lung disease, there's different advice I would give there. For example, somebody with interstitial lung disease, I'd be recommending acetazolamide perhaps, or nifedipine. Somebody with sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea, this would be one person I would prefer not to go to high altitude. They don't perform well at high altitude because they tend to get high altitude pulmonary edema very readily. So you could, if they insist on going, give them acetazolamide because that would increase their oxygenation at least. So there's lots of other advice we would give for people with certain conditions, diabetes and so on. I think it's a talk for another day.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, marvelous. Thank you so much, Prof, for the great answer. I just want to make 2 announcements, and after that I'll allow Director to make the concluding remarks and give a vote of thanks. Again, I just want to remind everyone that we are having a very exciting afternoon session. We are having many booths. We have many service providers, including various health service providers, hospitals. We have CPR training. We have health screening. We have a fresh market, fresh corner there. We have foot massage. We have a place you can buy food. So please, after this, you're welcome to pass by the parking lot outside the clinic so that you are able to do all this. And then we also have salsa dance and Zumba dance, and we are going to have gifts for those people who are the best dancers. So please put on your dancing shoes, come. The gifts are very exciting, so please don't leave them. Just come. The sessions begin at 3:30 p.m. Thank you. So, Director.
Thank you so much. There is really no more time to say much than to thank every one of you who has contributed, who spoke, who helped, who provided information and anything to make this a good day. We are grateful to the mental health expert who, on his own, decided to cancel his presentation here. He will be giving it at the tent. You will have enough time to ask your questions. And Excellency, thank you so much for your patience. I understand your commitments. We don't want to talk anymore. We thank everyone. We will just go out and have a picture with Her Excellency, and then after that, we call it a day. The other events will take place at the podium and the tent, as Dr. Samuel said. Thank you so much. Thanks for your patience and perseverance. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Fix your face, ain't my fault they all be jacking. Keep up, players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the
Come on, let's go.
second best for the hustlers, gangsters,
Sister, did you help now? Help now.
friends. I cannot preach, I cannot preach. I gotta show them how I can get it in. First, take your sip, do your dip, spend your money like money ain't shit. Ooh, ooh, got to blame it on Jesus. Hashtag blessed. They ain't ready for me. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jacking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your
Hello. Excuse. Take your t-shirts, please. Let's give them the t-shirt and start this program, please.
C'est pas pour toi. La musique c'est pour ceux qui font pour aller sac. Ça a été dur, ah ce crois-moi. Y'a des gens qui sont prêts à tout pour te rendre plat. Escargot cogne pas caillou. Jamais, jamais, jamais. Je suis allé jusqu'au bout du chemin. Maintenant je suis là. Ouais je suis là. Ouais je suis là. Et tu veux prendre ma place? Non je suis jamais prêt. Je suis jamais prêt. this beat.
Are we ready? Go, go, go. Estamos en el firehouse. Ready? Let's go. The blood is on fire. We all a little high, but we gon' get a little higher. Go. Sigue el tutorial. Let me see you do it. Y no va a fallar. Pop it, drop it like it. 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 Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. I'm talking stop, drop and roll. A little low, a little low, a little low.
Are we getting there? Let's go. The third round. DJ. Zumba, zoom, zumba, zoom, zumba, zumba. Esa buena, entonces, se
good things you do, they make me no. This distance is taking a hold of me for sure. Baby, come. I want to make me dance. Girl, I'm making you low. I want to make you low. This kind of things where they make me see ya. And me, I understand, so you don't know like me. See me, I won't make you know, say me there for you. And if not the price be that, that's why I don't see ya. I never treated you for nothing. This one was making me the dark passion. That you wanna pick it up. That you wanna get me with this fire. Telling me what's up in your heart. I want to make me close. I'm not that I want to make you close. Baby, I'm making you close. Baby,
Je ne suis pas des dindins. Vous êtes des plaies. On y va, il y a beaucoup de Dieu. bloqué là-bas. Bloqué encore. Je t'ai bloqué deux fois. On y va, les gars. Je suis mon fier, mon vol. Appelez, tu fais le coup fou. Si un fier qui a fait une accord venue, ça va. Je dis bloqué là-bas. Ça continue là. Je ne suis pas dedans. Laissez-vous maintenant. On y va que gamin que t'es. C'est qui est à moi.
Oh mama tetema, tipo tipo tetema. Oh mama tetema, aya twende tetema. Oh mama tetema, shuka chini tetema. Oh mama tetema, tetema, yani kama umepigwa shoti. Tetema, ipe miganisho ya roboti. Tetema, ukutani hadi kwenye kochi. Tetema, kwenye giza mama shika tochi. Kataka kama noga. Oh mama, kapandizi za Bukoba. Oh mama, kapandisha boda boda. Oh mama, kichoka kuchuma mboga. Oh mama, ay mama shigidi nakufa hoy wikidi ay mama shigidi konki fire moto liquidi tetema. Oh mama tetema, tipo tipo tetema. Oh mama tetema, aya tunde tetema. Oh mama tetema, shuka chini tetema. Oh mama.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have a special announcement. That's why I break the music. African Union Staff Association, we have the gym. You can locate us at the back of Congo Hall, and the gym is open from Monday, where is she? Monday and Wednesday, so you can come and register, come to the staff associations and register. I know every one of us here has registered, yes? We have all this kind of training there, so just want to slot it inside. Music, DJ, continue.
Suawaki, Lixo to Fameraki,
Denukuzo, the Mumilaka from the Zoo, Gavalobi, the Zamaya, Sulexo. Yeah, Javande. Yori, yeah, I'm the caravan man. Maruin Peter Semai, by man of Beluin Mike Semai, and a lot of Monday in good day, good in a color I give a Maruin Peter Semai, by man of Beluin Mike Semai, and a lot of Monday in good day, good in a color ጸጋ ክብሩ ለሸጠ ሁሉም ብሎ ለሮጠ በጥሩ መላጠና አያጸድቅም ብርኩና በሱ ባሁን ከሳሼ ዝምታ ነው ምላሼ ምን ያረጋል ክርክር እሱ አልፈልግ ምስክር የራሱ ጉንታል መሸከሙ ረስቶታል ሊፈርድብኝ ሲሌታል እሱን አጠጣብታ
What y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Pop, pop, it's showtime. 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 Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Gone time. Oh, they don't know. Gone time. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Designer mix. Inglewood's finest shoes. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues. Shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jocking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Second verse for the hustlers. Gangsters. Bad bitches and your ugly ass friends. I cannot preach. I cannot preach. I gotta show them how I can't get it in. First, take your sip. Do your dip. Spend your money like money ain't shit. Ooh, ooh. We too fresh. Got to blame it on Jesus. Hashtag blessed. They ain't ready for me. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jocking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? What you trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out. Everywhere I go, they be like, ooh, so bad. Everywhere I go, they be like, ooh, so bad. Everywhere I go, they be like, ooh, so bad.
We have a group of salsa. They came all the way from the city of Addis Ababa to entertain us tonight.
a rumiar. Gózala, venga.
el mundo guarachando.
Se come también, si no vacilón, se come también, que para gozar. Iriribom, 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 se come también, si no vacilón, se come también, que para gozar. Iriribom, 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 iriribom,
Staff Association, Mr. Chiamlu, to say a few words to all our partners. Then after that, I'll pass the mic to the Director of Medical.
Thank you very much, Michelle. I would like just to thank all the participants for this very important event because as I recall, repeating this moment, we need to balance our life and our work. So I believe the health is a priority of any human existence. No matter how wealthy you are, how gifted, how intelligent, if you lack health, you lack everything. I would like to thank the partners who came to support, the sponsoring firms, the medical, basically the team that has been tirelessly working to make this event happen. I look at the face of Dr. Brook, who was leading technically the team at so many levels, and colleagues from the medical, the entire staff, under the leadership of the director. So I would like as well as to incite our staff members, as I repeated this morning, to give priority to this event. We do recall at the end of the year, We have a lot of activities around overlapping with what we do, but it is a high time that we give priority to the health-related activities. I don't want to hijack the floor. People have been here the whole day. I submit to the director for the concluding remark. Thank you.
A round of applause for our president. In fact, I'm starting with him. This guy has given us all the support we need at the time we need it. He gave us the experience, the advice, and his team were really, really, really useful, and they guided us. So these guys are those on the front line. They linked us up with so many people. So President Nuhutiam, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup in French. That's the only one I know, by the way. So you will be the first one to receive our certificate of appreciation. Thank you very much. Can somebody give me a picture? I know I didn't make up, but still, yeah, okay. Right, so ladies and gentlemen, he has already said it. We don't have time to do any more talk. Apart from him, we have some foot soldiers. We have those who are behind the scene. You don't see them, but these are the ones who do sleepless nights. But there are others who come from across the ocean. They cross the ocean to come here. They had very long flights, they had jet lag, but they still continued to teach. Yesterday they did a lot of teaching. I have with me here Professor Gerald Flaherty. I have a certificate for you, sir, and I want to give it to you. Thank you so much. Okay, great. All right. Of course, like I said the other time, some people who are doing travel medicine when I was still in medical school, they have a lot of experience in this. Dr. Garth Brink is one of them. He's the backbone of the Pan-Africa Travel Medicine Federation. We really agree with him and we tapped a lot from his experience. It's time for us to give you a certificate, sir, and I'm sure we'll have to work with you. Thanks a lot, sir. This is for you. Okay. So, Dr. Charles may appear like a young man. Indeed, he's a young man, but he definitely has the experience we need. We tapped a lot from his resources. We liked your lectures. They're down to earth. They're easy to digest. They're not too technical. And I believe you may be the face of travel medicine going forward when most of us have retired. So continue this. I will ask my president. By the way, if he goes for second term, I'm going to vote for him. He already has my vote. So up to you, President.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Charles.
Dr. Brooke is probably the longest serving medical doctor in my directorate. I didn't know, has so much energy when I saw him today, the way he was dancing. So Dr. Brooke was also among the people who were working behind the scene. He's the one who was leading this initiative from the beginning. He was the one who took me to South Africa to go and see how they do their own. We learned a lot from him and from South Africa. I think he deserves a certificate from us. Thank you, Dr. Brooke. Thank you so much. This is for you. Yes. Okay.
We appreciate Dr. Brooke. Thank you very much. Thank you. So now we have to honor our elder, Dr. Adamu, who's been managing and leading this whole team. He deserves a certificate too. Dr. Adamu, I will provide you all the certificates. So the next is the captain, Dr. Job, who's been leading the technical team, so he deserves a certificate.
Thank you so much. I've not seen the guy. Is he around? Monsieur Koulibaly, are you here? I have not seen him. We will send it to his unit if he's not around. I'm also looking for Betty. Has she closed? Betty, nai. Oh, come on. Drop that call, Betty. Yeah. She is one of the foot soldiers. She reported to duty this morning before 7 o'clock. And she met me in the office. She's the one that you don't see her face, but she's the one that's the engine of our department. Definitely she deserves a certificate. And I wish I can maybe give her some more days for rest, to go and rest a bit. Betty, thank you so much. Yes. Then another interesting and very hardworking lady. I have never seen her stressed. Although I give her a lot of work, she's never angry. Every time you see, she smiles. But she gets a lot of work from me. I feel sometimes guilty how much work I give to her, especially on this particular assignment. Her name is Mrs. Dagmar Witt. Come here, Daggy. Yes. Turn for the photo. Give me your hand. Okay, so now I will be biased. Somebody from my country is going to receive this. Somebody who is a master of ceremony, master of everything. Somebody who knows the connections, who always is willing to help the medical directorate. I don't even know how to describe him because you know him better than me. He's involved in every event of this kind, and he's the backbone also of our activities. You don't need to turn backward, my friend, I can see you. Of course, I'm talking about Michel Olani. My children call him Uncle Michel. So, Uncle Michel, this is for you. Yeah, thank you so much. Another lady from the staff union, I think I will call the president himself to give, I hope she's still around. Miss Gena, what are you sitting there doing? You look tough today. Since morning I told you when I saw you, you look really tough and professional. You know, President, you have to give it to her. While I'm hug her, I'm going to hug her today. Yeah, so give her this. Thank you so much for your services. We really appreciate it. Huh? Good job. Thank you. Yes. Oh, now we have the Iron Lady. She looks smallish. She looks not too tall like me, not too heavy.
1,000 volts.
But she has 1,000 volts of energy. She is the brain box. Those of you who have cars, you know what is a brain box. She's the Iron Lady also. She connects very well with everyone. Ask my visitors. Every time we had challenges, she has a way of telling them, keep faith and keep confidence. She guides everyone. She doesn't go to bed until every visitor arrives. And I really, really appreciate her energy, her optimism, and her name is Sister Jerusalem. So this one, she around? Okay. Okay. So now I'll call on the president to appreciate some people that have come around to contribute in cash or kind, and they are physically present here with us. Within short notice, they come here, and we really appreciate partnerships with them. They contributed physically and in reality, not in language, but in action. I have to ask my president to start acknowledging these people. Let me give you the mic, and I'll give you the certificate when you call the name.
Thank you very much, Director. I join my voice to yours to appreciate our valuable sponsors. Allow me to hand over to Mitchell, who was coordinating our interaction with the sponsors. Mitchell, please, you have the floor.
Oh, merci beaucoup. This is a injury prevention initiative for Africa. Is there any representatives here? Thank you so much. Round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. The next one is Wudasi Diagnostic Center. Wudasi, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Wudasi. The next is Get Farm. They are not here. I'll keep it for them. Axon Stroke and Spine Center. Axon Stroke and Spine Center. The left. Okay, thank you so much. Radiant Healthcare. Radiant Healthcare. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is anyone from Dashen Bank here? Dashen Bank. Okay, they're not here. I'll keep it for them. Akko Coffee. Woo! Akko Coffee. That's okay. She served more than 800 people today. Thank you, Akko Coffee. Thank you. Thank you, Akko. Okay. Silk Road General Hospital. Silk Road General Hospital. Is there any representative here? They are not here. Okay. Tebuta Ambulance. Tebuta Ambulance. Tebuta Ambulance. The left. Okay. Itio Istanbul Hospital. Itio Istanbul Hospital. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. We have Hamlet Reflexology. Hamlet, you've done so well today. Thank you. Take a picture for them. Congratulations. Okay, we have Blossom Event Organizer. Blossom. Yalam. Okay. Saromaria Hotel. I saw the marketing director. Take picture with the director, please. Yes. Thank you. We have Luna Export Slaughter House PLC. Luna. This is a fresh corner, eh? Luna. Thank you. Fresh corner, Luna. Soreti Wellness and Spa. Soreti Wellness and Spa. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Abraham tent. You see all those tents here? From Abraham. Where is he? He's not here. He's a businessman. I will see him next time. Rama Solution PLC. Rama. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Taylor Spa. Taylor Spa. I know they are here. Woo. Thank you. Take a picture with the director and shake hands. Thank you, Chela. Platinum Health and Fitness. Platinum Health and Fitness Center. Platinum. Okay. Thank you. They are not here. I'm going to take it for them. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Director. Thank you, President of Staff Association, Mr. Nu.
Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the evening. We still, if we omit anyone, we can sign more certificates, so don't worry. Thank you so much. Huh? Okay. Enjoy the evening. I'll see you some other time. Thank you. Where did you go? This is my head of nursing, so this is a home affair. So, perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, merci beaucoup.